All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me for another episode of Digital Soul Presents. This week, I'm very honored to have this brother on. I've been following his career since I was a kid, and I really love his work. So I'm really grateful that he answered the call to come on, and we could talk a little bit about his career, what he's doing, what he's up to, and the new album that he has in the work. Mr. Brother Jay King is in the house. How you doing, brother?
I'm fine. I'm fine, brother Dixon. J.I. Blue Dixon. Now, where did blue come from? Where did the blue come from?
Favorite color?
Okay.
Yeah, my favorite color. So yeah, most of my gear, clothes, blue. I use blue for everything. So that's
Got
where
you.
blue comes in. Yeah. But thank you so much, Jay. Man, I gotta say something, man. You know, and I'm being honest with you, man. I was 13 years old when I first acquired Rumors, you know, and also the Club Nouveau tape, which I have here. I held on to it, so I kind of bought it here. But this is the cassette. I don't know if you can see it, but
I see it.
I still have it. I still have it. And of course, I know from the beginning, Timex Social Club, Club Nouveau, Michael Cooper. I know your work. So I very rarely have to do any homework on people that I've followed my whole life. But I said, well, let me just go ahead and see what else he's been doing. And I gotta say, I gotta ask you, when do you sleep? You do so much, man. I was getting tired reading your resume.
Well, you know why?
Mm-hmm.
So I've never been high before.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done drugs. I've never smoked a joint. I've never drank alcohol. So I am acutely aware of how short this life is.
Yeah.
There's only 8,760 hours in a year. If you live to be 80, you live in about 29,200 days. By the time you take away 8 hours a day for sleeping and 8 hours a day for working, you have 9,733 days for living.
Mm.
And that's if you live to be 80.
Wow.
And then you have to ask yourself, how many of these days was I young and vibrant? How
Yeah.
many of them was I old and decrepit? How many of them did I waste being mad or non-productive?
Yeah.
And once you get to those answers, if you don't try to do it all before you go, you're really wasting time and space, and you can't have a full life. When I'm done, I'm going to have a full life. I'm going to have done everything I wanted to do. I
Yeah.
believe that you can do and be anything you want to for as long as you want to do it and be it.
Yeah.
And so I always try to make my days new, because a lot of us live in Groundhog's Day. We do the same thing over and over again.
Right.
And I want it to be interesting, and I want to challenge myself to be better.
A man after my own heart, man. I tell you, all my friends, they say the same about me, because I actually have my hand in a lot of things. I'm an artist, producer. I do a couple of TV shows, radio stations. So I'm the same. You know, I keep busy. But I, after reading your resume, I was like, I got to step my game up.
So I sleep like when you sleep, because if you're doing a lot of stuff, you know
Yeah.
that sleep is interesting. Like, so I will sleep in
Hmm.
increments.
Hmm.
Sometimes I come home and I'll sleep for 40 minutes and seem like I got 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
And I
Yeah.
wake up in the middle of the night. I might go to sleep around 9:30, 10, wake up around 12:31,
And then you're up for the
do
rest
some
of
work,
it. Yeah.
go back to sleep, wake up, stay up for a few hours, read or whatever it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Go back to sleep, wake up around 5:36, unless I'm working out. If I'm doing like 3 days a week, I do Mayweather gym workout. And so on those days, I try to be in bed by 8:39, because I'm up at 4 to do a 5 o'clock workout. done at 6 to get ready for Kings in the morning. My morning show I do from 8 to 10.
So you got it all worked out, man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I gotta say, I gotta hand it to you, brother. I gotta hand it to you. Doing it. Now you really from the NorCal, born and raised there, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Born in Oroville.
Orville. Now that's a city I never heard of. Now, how far is that from like Oakland or anywhere in those vicinities?
It's closer to Sacramento. It's about
Okay,
60 miles from Sacramento.
okay.
So my great grandfather was the first black man that they allowed to move in
In that
uh,
city?
downtown Oroville. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was a very progressive city. In Oroville in the early 1900s, the 1920s, 30s, all the way up to the 40s until whites started migrating from the South. Um, you were judged by a jury of your peers. So if you
Yeah,
got in trouble, you were black, your jury was all black.
yeah.
If you got in trouble, you were white, your jury was all white. If you was Mexican, your jury was all Mexican. They were very progressive for that
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And so growing up there, did you take any classes for any instrumentation growing up in school?
I didn't grow up in Northville. I was just born there.
Born
And
there?
then born there and then San Francisco we lived for a few years and then when I was in preschool we moved to Sacramento. So I grew up in Sacramento and Vallejo. My mom and dad divorced. My mother and my stepfather lived in Sacramento. My father lived in Vallejo. So I was between those two places.
Okay, okay.
So I went to high school. I went to elementary in Sacramento, junior high part in Sacramento, part in Vallejo, high school part in Sacramento, part in Vallejo.
Wow. Homebred there out there.
Yeah, Northern California.
Yeah, and still residing out there. That's incredible, man. I gotta
Well,
love that.
I have a place in LA as well, so I'm between
Oh,
the two.
cool.
I
Okay.
believe so. I live in both places.
Cool, cool, very cool. Now I know music had to enter your life pretty early. At what age frame did that start to happen for, and what kind of caught your interest?
What's interesting about music is that music has always been around me because my mother and father both always played music in the house, and I love music. And I didn't start playing an instrument until maybe a seventh grader. I played trumpet, and then was in a jazz band playing trumpet, playing in funk bands. But I never thought that I would be a musician or that would be my livelihood. I was a dancer. I used to pop.
Ah,
Bro, that's what I thought that I would do or be an actor.
wow.
Um, music was haphazard by accident, and but I always loved music. Music always was emotional for me. I remember
Yeah.
hearing Marvin Gaye's "Here, My Dear" for
Mm,
the first time in 1978. I'm 16 years old. I
mm,
had never heard a record like that before, where this dude is telling his whole story in a song, but it has no hook until the end of the song. And it's just, I'm in it with him. I learned all the lyrics to this song,
mm.
and I had never heard a record like it before. And it
Yeah.
was on KBLX. KBLX in the Bay Area played a lot of really cool music. And that was one of the songs. And that was the only station I ever heard the record.
Wow. Wow. And so that kind of just lit the fire there.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it was lit early on,
Yeah.
even before I knew it. My great uncle, my father's uncle, my grandfather's brother, his name is Saunders King. He was a blues guitarist and vocalist, and he had a song called the SK Blues that was big. And then my cousin Debbie King, my second cousin, my father's first cousin, married Carlos Santana. So, and they were married for
Wow.
32 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I know being out there in NorCal, Sacramento area, it's like a mecca of talent out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Sheila E, you got Eddie M, you got yourself, Tony. I mean, Tower Power. I mean, I can go on and on and on about the Sly and the Family Stone. It's just ridiculous, the shit that comes from out of that area. And you yourself, you became a part of that. And also, what's interesting about you too is you coming out of that area when you really hit in the mid '80s, you came out with your own sound.
Yeah.
Well, you had a really really big sound. What was your sound inspired from on those early
Well,
recordings?
well, if I'm going to be honest, right? a few things happened there. Number one, Larry Smith, who was a producer who produced the Houdini
One of my
Friends,
favorites. Yeah,
um, you know,
man.
and 5 Minutes of Funk and all that stuff.
Yeah,
And the early Run DMC stuff, it's like that,
yeah.
and Hard Times and all those songs. Larry Smith was a minimalist as a producer.
Hmm.
He had a big sound, and so of course influence there.
Hmm.
Um, but Alex Hill, who doesn't get enough credit, okay, Alex Hill was a member of the Timex Social Club who did the music,
Okay. Okay.
and Alex had a style about him that influenced me in a lot of ways. Um, when it came to certain uh, synthesizer parts, he's
Yeah.
he did these little bitty one-liner things that was really cool. And it was him. It was his initial recording of Rumors that I worked from. Now, when I was done, they didn't like what I'd done to the record,
Oh
but
wow.
I think I took the best of him and the best of me and married it. And then groups like the ABC band, tell me how to be a millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
That sounded, Tears for Fears, all those kind of groups coming out of Europe, and Thomas Dolby,
Yeah.
they really influenced me a lot in the music, and I think that's why the music has some pop elements to it, has some R&B elements to it, and and has a big sound because I was real heavy. And being a dancer, drums were everything,
Yeah.
drums and bass. So drums and bass are everything.
Now that you're saying that, it makes so much sense. I'm sitting here listening to you, and you mentioned ABC, and I'm thinking about Poison Arrow and Look of
Yes,
Love, and as you mentioned Tears for Fears. I'm thinking about Shout. I'm thinking about all these tracks, and now the light bulb just clicked. Ah, okay. And that explains why I like it, because I like exactly those same artists and those same groups. That makes so much sense, man.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Now, early on, you were one of the one of the forefronts of independent artists and independent publishing. You kind of started that way before what it is now, early on. Talk a little bit about getting into that, and then how was that at that? Because it's so different now. Everybody can just basically make an album out of
mm,
their bedroom, and you know how it is
yeah.
now. But I mean, back then, what was that like getting an independent label started and trying to get that hit on that label?
Well, it was difficult, number one,
Yeah,
because the major labels controlled um, the music business, but
yeah,
because hip hop was starting to happen and rap was starting to happen, and major labels weren't concerned about hip hop and rap music, and they really thought that it was music that would have a short lifespan. Publishing was nothing. They didn't feel like it had any future. And and publishing is about songs that have a what they call evergreen, that they're forever generating money.
yeah.
Like you know what's his name, Elvis Presley,
Hmm.
uh, Nat King Cole. These are names that are staples.
Yeah,
Uh, Even Stevie Wonder in the beginning, nobody knows. This is just urban music. We don't know what this is going to be.
yeah,
But hip hop is they're not even worried about the publishing
yeah,
in the beginning.
yeah,
Um, as an independent, so Rumors wasn't a hip hop record. Rumors wasn't a rap record. Rumors is a singing record. So people that had records like Rumors, they would get to a certain point, and then a major label would come swoop it up and sign the group, sign the production company, and take it to the next level. But I never let Rumors do that. I was independent from start to finish. to this very day, I own Rumors,
Mm-hmm.
and my version of it, and which is the version that you all know and love and as the original Rumors. They they made it very difficult, but one thing happened that doesn't exist today, and that is understanding that Black radio was controlled by Black men and women. So I could go to Shreveport, Louisiana, and meet Mr. C. I could go to Little Rock, Arkansas, and meet Boogaloo. I could go to um, um, Denver, Colorado, and meet Danny, and or um, go to uh, Boston and meet Elroy Smith. I can go and meet these guys because they own these labels.
Yeah.
I mean, these radio stations. They own these radio stations, and if you made a relationship with them, they could help break your record. See, that doesn't exist today. Now, radio
Yeah.
stations owned by these conglomerates.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, uh, deregulation hadn't kicked in yet. Even though the deregulation of radio started with the air traffic controllers when Ronald Reagan declassified uh, air traffic control, it did the same to radio. And when they did that, I mean deregulated, I said declassified, I mean deregulated. When they deregulated it, it made it where anybody could own as many radio stations as they wanted. Up until that point, there was a cap. Maybe you could own a total of 6 or 7 media companies.
Mm-hmm.
And but once they lifted that cap, then you got the Evergreen and the Cumulus and the iHearts and and all those. But up until that point, so we had a easier chance or a better chance, I should say, of
you're building relationships, like you said.
Right.
Yeah.
And you could go around the country, and that's what I did.
Wow.
So it was hard work. It was people said it couldn't be done, especially for urban record, and we really defied the odds with Rumors.
Yeah.
That record it lasted a lot longer than people thought it would. It didn't just take off. I starved for a while, for 6, 7, 8 months before the record really started getting legs.
Yeah.
And then the group left me and went to sign with somebody else because we didn't have contracts.
Right.
But that's why I wrote Jealousy.
Right. One of the first beefs. Huh?
Yes. In R&B.
Yeah.
Home record.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Let's talk a little bit about when you guys finally got Rumors on the new label, your new imprint, the transition over with the new members and that so forth.
Well, it wasn't Rumors. Rumors was itself by itself. It was Timex Social Club.
Okay.
And then they signed with somebody else, and then I started Club Nouveau.
Gotcha.
And Club Nouveau did Jealousy. Mm-hmm. So Club Nouveau was Denzel Foster, Thomas McElroy, who I was writing with already. They were my partners. And then Val was like my little sister, and I had put her in Timex Social Club. So when they did what they did, she left with me. And then Denny knew Samuel, growing up in Pinole, a little city close to in between Oakland and Vallejo. And so that's how Samuel got in. And so we came in and we just showed them the song and they sang it, and boom, just like that, we were cruising. And then Benny Medina came. Everybody was courting me, but Benny Medina was the only person that flew in to see me. Everybody else would fly me in to come see them. Benny Medina came to see me. He came into the studio to watch us work and everything. And Benny personalized it. And that's why I ended up signing to Warner Brothers. And he was new with it.
Got it. Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. Now, the tracks that you had for the debut album for Club Nouveau, now most were those tracks done already, or did you guys, once you got the contract, kind of work on those songs?
No, they were already done.
They were already done.
And what's interesting about that is we only wrote those 6 songs that was on that album.
That's it. Wow. Wow.
And we didn't write anything else.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All bangers too, man. Man, that's awesome. And I gotta mention it was so many hits off this album, man, and Lean on Me, was just to the stratosphere. I remember when that dropped, it was like you couldn't run from it. It was
Yeah.
everywhere, and you guys ended up winning a Grammy.
Yep.
How I know that must have been an amazing feeling. How did that feel?
I got to be honest with you. I don't know how it felt because I was so busy fighting, you know, to, because I didn't understand uh, the space I was in.
Hmm.
And because I started off fighting, I only knew how to fight.
Mm.
And then you carry the resentment of nobody believing in you, and now everybody's kissing your ass, and now you want to give them the middle finger, and
Yeah,
because you're emotionally in it. And I learned over time,
yeah,
business ain't emotional, and you got to be thankful when you get a hit record in this business
yeah,
because it don't happen often. And then you have to manicure relationships, and you got to grow, and you can't get caught up in the ego of it all because there's a lot of ego and a lot of hype in this thing. And
yeah,
you'll start believing some of this shit. You'll
yeah.
start believing you really the thing. Ain't nobody the thing. I say the music business is like a chick that everybody like and everybody want her, and you can't get mad when you find out one of your buddies had her too.
Hmm.
You just gotta say, man, we got some, didn't we? You know,
Yeah,
anytime you can get some, you just gotta be
you
happy
can
you
get
got
it.
some.
Yeah,
You can't, you don't own her. You don't
man.
have to, she do it to everybody.
Yeah,
And
that's
you don't want her to stop talking to you.
oh man, that is deep, deep. Well, I'm sorry to hear that you didn't get to enjoy it, the way you should
Well,
have.
part of it was my fault. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
enjoy it because I was so caught up in a whole nother
yeah,
in the fight of it all, in the you're gonna respect me and all that stuff, dumb shit that we do as youngsters.
yeah. You were young. Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
at that time, look, by the time Rumors is a hit, I'm 24.
yeah, yeah.
You
Still,
know,
still a baby.
and which was young for us.
Hmm.
For these kids, it might be old, but for us to get a hit that young in the game, first time out, that's a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and on a major label too. A lot of times that doesn't
Not
happen.
on a major.
Yeah,
Rumors is on J Records.
yeah, yeah.
So, but now on Warner Brother Records,
Hmm.
Jealousy goes to number 8.
Right, and
Situation number 9
you're still using
goes.
your imprint on the Warner Brothers.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
right,
By that time, I'm King J Records.
right.
When I'm independent, I'm just J Records. By the time I get to Warner Brothers, I'm King J Records.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool. And then what about with that song too, man? Because you guys did such an amazing job on making it danceable, where Bill Withers' version is more, more thoughtful and more loving. But
Yeah.
you guys put this amazing twist on it. This bounce, the reggae twist, the whole bit. And then also, what inspired you guys to make it that way? And then also, how was Bill Withers' blessing on you guys' interpretation of the song?
Well, there were a lot of elements that inspired it. Number one, people say reggae is really go-go. We really jacked go-go rhythms with
Mm-hmm.
reggae feels.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't want to disrupt the melody. So we kept the some time in our life.
Mm-hmm.
We all have pain. We all have sorrow. So we kept that right. And but then so we kept it. That's that go-go.
Yeah.
But that uh, 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 that's that reggae.
Yeah.
So with a blend, and then and still keeping enough space for the pop element
Yeah.
to get in,
Yeah.
and making the vocals just beautiful. So when people heard it, it wasn't black radio that broke Lean on Me. It was pop radio.
Mm-hmm.
Pop radio forced black radio because Situation Number 9 was still on the charts. Move up the charts. We might have went to number 2 or number 1 with Situation Number 9, except that Lean on Me interrupted it.
Dang. but a nice interruption though.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. One of my favorite productions of yours that I love still to this day, man. And I'm glad I'm getting the opportunity to actually share this with you. As an album that you did with one of my favorite singers, Michael Cooper. Uh,
Ah,
yeah, talk a little bit about being able to produce. You produced the whole entire project, which
yeah.
is rare also early on. But talk a little bit about getting with him, and who chose who. How did the process start when you guys got together?
So I grew up in Vallejo.
Mhm.
Confunction is from Vallejo.
Right. Right.
I used to wait for Michael Cooper to come outside so I could wave at him.
Okay. Okay.
And one day Michael Cooper was outside, and Michael Cooper had this orange Celica, and then he had a very cool Impala 1966 or 67 lowrider that was flying. He had a boat, So he was Michael Cooper, and he lived in Lofus in this one area of Vallejo, and he was going to Kmart or somewhere, and and he asked me if I wanted to ride with him. It was for his son B. Jermaine's birthday, second or third birthday, and B. Jermaine was born with some kind of heart condition, so we
Mm,
had to have open heart surgery as a baby,
mm.
and so I danced at his son's birthday party.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then I went to the Air Force. I got kicked out after a year.
Mm,
Uh, but I was in Alaska and I stayed in Alaska. Then I brought Confunction to Alaska to perform, and me and Michael Cooper became friends there. And then I
ah,
come back uh, to record some stuff, and I record with Mike, and so that's how me and Cooper, and so I'm a fan.
yeah,
When and then Confunction was going through their own changes, and they brought in another singer who was and Michael Cooper and Felton Pilot are the Lennon and McCartney of Confunction.
yeah, yeah.
90% of the Confunction hits came from those two guys.
Mhm.
But and that group taught me how to be as one boss in your group. You can't have everybody be the boss. And they used to vote on a president every year. So once those guys realized that Michael and Felton were writing the hit records, they started voting for their own songs. And so Confunction albums got lighter and lighter. And by the time Michael Cooper, by 1986, 85, 86, Michael Cooper and Felton and Confunction, Felton's gone. Michael Cooper and Confunction kind of like
Yeah.
falling by the wayside. So I take Michael Cooper because now Club Nouveau had the hit record, and I say, Coop, we should do a solo album.
Mm.
And that's how we start working on the Love Is Such a Funny Game album.
Wow. So as soon as you told him that, you guys immediately got to work on those tracks.
It wasn't immediate, but we started talking about it
Yeah.
because Cooper was loyal to Confunction.
Yeah. Yeah.
He loved Confunction. And I was like, dude, you can still do Confunction, but you got to do a Michael Cooper album.
Yeah.
And that's how we started. And the first song we recorded was To Prove My Love. What can I do? What must I
The
do?
first song on the album, on the first track you
Yeah.
guys did.
And that was me, Denny, and Tommy. That was a song that me, Denny, and Tommy done. We did it
Yeah.
possibly to use on Club Nouveau, but it wasn't fitting. And so I just had the track, and that was the first thing I cut. And then I did Love Is Such a Funny Game, Look Before You Leave,
Oh,
Ocean Wide. And Look Before You Leave, that's Force MD's doing the
I
background.
I know. I still got the CD,
Yeah.
man. I still have it, and I love quickness.
With the quickness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the Shirley Muldowney and stuff, with the Wally Coyote and stuff. Oh
That
yeah,
was cool. That was all cool.
man, that album, man, that's still my joint to this day, man.
Right on.
Yeah, for sure. That's a slamming album and still dope. And then also you guys around this same time, you did your second album with Club Nouveau, which is a little bit more of a switch in direction from the
Yeah.
first project. I like it because it's a listen to the message. You guys had a wide variety of stuff on that album. Talk a little bit about putting that project together.
Well, and the funny part, this is where me and Warner Brothers started to go in different directions because I'd already made an album that was a hit. And so I didn't want to make records that sound like my last record.
Yeah.
And so I was in this battle with them, and me and Benny Medina, and Benny was like, Jay, you got to make this record. I'm like, no, I can. My contract said I can make any record I want to. I'm in charge of this. And so listen to the message was like my Marvin Gaye, what's going on now?
Yeah.
You know, drugs were prevalent at that time. It was crazy, and and hip hop was starting to really come up, but I just felt like there was something that needed to be said, and I wanted to say it, and I wanted to make records the way I wanted to make them. I didn't want to make records the way a record company wanted me to. And um and so I stopped making records to make commercial albums. I started making records to say what I wanted to say.
How did you feel with the outcome once you were done with the project, or how did the band feel as a whole?
I mean, they basically followed me. I wish I would have. I think I was rushing to mix it. I listened to it now and I say, I hate the mixes, but I think there's some great songs on there. I think Francis was a great song.
Yeah.
I wish I would have mixed it differently. I
Yeah.
think Envious is a great song. I don't like the mix on it.
Mm.
Listen to the message. Please tell me, people, why we just can't come together and show each other love. You're my sister, I'm your brother.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that there was some great lyrics, some great lyrical content there, some
Absolutely.
great melody. And but if I could do it over again, I would love to remix the record.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can understand
And
that.
there's some production things that I would have done different, but I was rushing, I was behind. Uh, Me and Denny and Tommy had parted ways at that point,
Mm.
and and I was on a deadline with Warner Brothers, and I was just trying to make the deadline. And I wish I would have missed the deadline and made a better record.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know you mentioned Foster McElroy a couple of times. I want to address them on this show. Though another pair of gentlemen from the Bay Area that
Yes,
have had much success in Vogue, Tony. I mean, with them, the list goes on. They got so many hits under their belt,
absolutely. Yes,
and not talked about enough in my book. So we want to give them props while we.
absolutely. Denny and Tommy are both bad boys,
Yeah.
individually and together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the best in the game still. Yeah. Now you had some other artists too that you did in between doing the two Club Nouveau artists as well.
Yes.
Yeah, what were the artists that you worked on as well?
Well, I did. Well, there was Cachet Devoir, which was Brian Morgan's group. And so Brian Morgan got caught up in my politics when I started fighting Warner Brothers. Brian
Uh,
Morgan ends up producing SWV.
WB,
So
yeah.
SWV sounds like Brian Morgan and Lachelle,
Uh,
and James, because that was his group. So I had them. I had Shantae Moore.
mm,
Her first album was really the first album she done on my label, or with the deal that I did at Warner Brothers.
wow,
Um, I had LaRue, who was on LaRue was on BMG. Teresa, she was on BMG. Mickey Blue, he was on EMI, and then we did the first four songs on the Vanilla Ice album.
right.
So Vanilla Ice was with me, with Tommy Kwan before anybody, but only other production, Kyrie from Young Black Brother Records, who did Ray Love, Young Lay, Mac Mall, Mac Dre, all that stuff. He was the first producer to work with Vanilla Ice. So when that album went crazy, we made a lot of money on it.
Yeah,
And then I did Art Madison, which to me is the best work I ever did. Art Madison Into the AM album. I know we have October London, who was as close to Marvin as you're gonna get, but
yeah,
before him there was Art Madison. You listen to the Art Madison Into
yeah,
the AM album. That's done in 1992,
yeah.
93. That's 30 years ago. But you listen to it now and you'd be like, man, this dude
That's it.
is on it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. You also did a couple of more projects under Club Nouveau as well, and then between '93 and '95. It was two more albums, correct?
I did the I did the New Begin.
The New
No, so
Beginning.
we did so we did three albums of Warner Brothers.
Okay.
We did the Under Nouveau Groove, which had You Ain't No
Under
Friend of
Nouveau
Mine.
Group, right?
And Money Came By You Love, Share Your Love. Share Your Love became a huge record for us overseas. Um, and that was in '89. Then in '92 we did the New Beginning album.
Right, right,
And then in '95 we did the Everything Is Black album.
right. Now those.
And then mhm.
What was the next one you going to mention?
uh, well, and then after that, we did the Collection Volume One.
Collection, right?
And then we did the Consciousness album, which was
Okay,
the last full length album. And
right,
today we have we have a new single, It's All Right, that's about to come out.
right, right. Absolutely. And now talk a little bit about that because you guys, even though with the gaps, in recording and so forth, the group name, I mean, you guys still tour, have been touring, still
Yeah.
continue to tour. Talk a little bit about still staying relevant and adjusting to the change in the sounds of music and to keeping relevant with the group.
Well, you just make records
Mm-hmm.
and you try to understand production and what production is, but your sound is your sound. And if you get, sometimes you'll get too old. You're not supposed to make records. You just tour.
Yeah,
People listen to, but if you're making records and you think there's a relevant sound, then you do that as well. I think it's been a while. So first of all, Val and Sam been with me for a long time, and 2021 was the last time that was the last tour they did with me. In 22, I started with Jay Ali and Tirza,
mm-hmm.
and that's who's with me now.
Right.
So they're going on 2 years with me. This is our first recording together, and I think it's a great recording. We have a song called "It's All Right" that's going to be coming November, December into the 24. We just did a photo session a few days ago. Now we're working on all the mixes. We have a mix with Chubb Rock. We have a mix with DJ Quick, MC Magic. We have and then a lot of up and comers, but people won't get a chance to hear this record with from a lot of different angles. And then we're working on the new single now. So we live in a different world.
Yeah.
I grew up in an album world. Now we live in a singles world.
Yeah.
So I'm dropping singles every 4 or 5 months, letting singles live for that time, and then we'll drop an album later.
Yeah.
But we're just dropping singles right now. So It's All Right. It's going to be our first single, and then next year, May, June, we'll release another single, and then every 5 to 6 months we'll release a new single for a few years.
I love it. That's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to it. And you mentioned all those amazing names that you are working with too. I've had a chance to actually drop in on a couple of those lives where you guys were in there and kind of hear what you guys are working on. And I'm really digging it, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you because I catch you on the live a couple of times doing those recordings, and then also for your solo projects as well. I try to catch your lives. Always playing, some exclusive stuff, off something that you're working on, which I really dig as well. So in between Club Nouveau, you yourself also became a solo artist. Talk a little bit about transitioning and deciding to do your own thing.
Well, so my mom died in 2007. But my mom, because I always wrote songs beyond what Club Nouveau did, and I would never record them and stuff. And my mom asked me one day, why aren't you recording these songs? I'm like, well, they're not Club Nouveau songs and they're not this. And she said, I didn't ask you what they weren't. I asked you why weren't you recording them. And so I had intentions on recording a solo record before my mom died, but my mother came down with she got diagnosed with cancer in November of 2006. January of 2007, she died. She died on my 45th birthday. So I'm 61 now. So that was 16 years ago. Yeah. But because of my mom, I recorded my first solo album in 2009 called Open Book. And the Open Book album has some really cool songs on it. And then in 2000, I want to say 17, I recorded the Hell and Son album. And I delved in bossa nova a little with a few songs. And then and I love bossa nova music. And I came up with this concept of soulful bossa nova. And in 21, I released the Soulful Bossa Nova album. And now I'm working on the Nouveau Bossa Nova album, Nuvo. And it's just bossa nova music with rhythm, a lot of soul and R&B rhythm with some samba and jazz, and it's a mixture, and it's a beautiful music. And I do it. I do music for my spirit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I breathe. So music is my therapy. I'm the president of the California Black Chamber, so I have a lot of work to do as it relates to small business and business development and different panels I sit on and different councils I sit on for small business, whether it's with DGS, Caltrans, a high-speed rail. It's a lot of work. So music becomes the release for me. My morning show, Kings in the Morning, is also a release for me. It's where I can just be wild and crazy. And if you listen to Kings in the Morning before, you know what it is.
Yeah, straight
and
up.
Then on KDEE, I get to play all the music I want to play.
Yeah.
And then on KBLA, which is the radio station I do in Los Angeles with Tavis Smiley, I get to talk about music. I've just done a whole series on Marvin Gaye, on his What's Going On, Let's Get It On, and I Want You albums. And
the trio of the album. You did, so you did. Wow.
Each individual. So I did one on What's Going On. I did a show on Let's Get It On, and then a show on I Want You, talking about the stories behind it, how they all started. That What's Going On almost didn't come out because Barry Gaye hated it. Barry Gordy hated it and said Marvin was going to destroy his career. And just how that record got out, and then how Anna Gordy had a lot to do with him actually recording it. And then the Let's Get It On album, when he meets Janice Hunter, who becomes his wife, and how he's got a wife that's 17 years older than him and a mistress that's 17 years younger than him. And he ain't this little boy that this 41-year-old woman married. Now he's a grown-up man. He's 34 years old. And his wife is 51, but his girlfriend's 17, and just the parallel between it all. And then coming into I Want You. And but I get to talk about a lot of different things, from financial literacy, and politics on that show, and anything I want to. So I really get a chance to have a new and interesting life every day.
Man, that's amazing. And that's why I was joking with you earlier about when do you sleep, because I pulled that up. I didn't know, about the president, Black Chamber of Commerce, those couple of things I didn't know. And then also I wrote something down too, chairman of the African American Professional Dominoes Association.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about
African
that.
American, we were the Professional Domino Association, the PDA.
Okay.
We created it, me and my cousin Anthony. We created the Professional Domino Association, and had we not, I think the housing crisis kind of killed us. But we had an incredible run of 3 years, and some of the best domino players in the world playing against each other, making money like they were, like a job.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love the domino lives, man. What I love about them, man, nowadays I don't get to play with a lot of people anymore because I don't really have any, time, or nobody really sits down and plays anymore that I know. But the feeling I get when watching you guys, the shit talking,
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, I just have a ball just laughing. I feel like I'm there with you guys.
Because I'm riding on domino daddy.
Yeah, man, I love it, man. I'm always excited when I can catch them. Like, oh man, they playing, and I just sit and watch them for a little bit. But yeah, hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you also, interesting enough, you're the Creative Exchange Music Summit.
Yes.
Yeah, you founded that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, talk a
And
little bit about
the creative exchange is everything in a creative capacity, whether it's music, film,
it.
television, poetry, uh, um, economics, uh, um, you name it. Just the creative exchange and how they marry to each other.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, just imagine if musicians understood investing, what it would do to our economy. Because we generate a lot of money, but a lot of times musicians and sports figures will end up broke.
yeah,
And people say, man, how do they made X amount of dollars. Well, you look at that dollar figure. You don't look at the taxes. You don't look at the professional services they have to pay for.
the
You don't look at the
expenses.
lifestyle,
Yeah.
all the people they have to take care of, babies, mamas,
Mm.
babies. It's a lot. But just imagine if when Ray Parker bought Tesla, it was $26.50 a share. And Tesla does what they call splits. So if you had 5,000 shares and Tesla split one for five, then that means your 5,000 shares become 25,000. And maybe instead of the it being $500 a share, it's now $100 a share, but now you have 25,000 of them. So the value is still the same. But now when it goes up, instead of it going up 5,000 times, it's going up 25,000 times.
Yeah.
So, and then it goes back up to 500. Well, guess what? Instead of having 500 times 5,000 shares, now you have 500 times 25,000 shares, right?
Yeah.
And then if it splits again 4 times, now you have 100,000 shares. Well, and I'm not trying to tell Ray Parker's business, but Ray Parker happened to be one of the guys who was able to take advantage of investing in that manner.
Mm.
And he's become a multimillionaire
Yeah.
just on investments.
Yeah.
He probably got $50-60 million just in Tesla alone. So that's what the creative exchange is about.
Yeah.
It's about us exchanging the creative ideas, whether it's in cryptocurrency, and why African Americans are 29% of African Americans are in cryptocurrency versus 18% Hispanic and 11% white. Because of the entry to it is easier. It's not as expensive as people think it's going into the stock market.
Yeah.
And the learning curve isn't as great, but it really is when you start looking at cryptocurrency because it's more speculation versus investing when
Yeah.
it comes to uh, you know the stock market, which is more of an investor's market. Or when people say investing in the stock market is like gambling, the
Mm.
creative exchange, it starts to minimize that gap of understanding so we can understand creativity that just going into the studio and making a record, anybody, because you've heard people say with the right producer and right song anybody can, but that's not so.
Yeah.
So when you have all those creative forces together talking about the reward of their craft, but also the investment of time and earning and learning and learning how to be an earner inside of it, all the ancillary parts to it. That's what the creative exchange is about.
And how long have you been doing it now?
6 years.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. And you amaze me, man. Do you just think of like, I'm gonna try this next. I'm gonna try this thing. Do you just wake up and say, I'm gonna do this today, or what is your mindset when you get into these new ventures and things like that?
Well, I'm 61.
Hmm.
I have 8,760 hours to be 61. I want to do it all.
I want to do it all. I heard that.
So, so I wake up in the morning prepared to do it all. And yeah,
Yeah,
I decide that's what I'm going to do next.
just get
And
it done.
then I start embarking on it.
Yeah, yeah. What's your inspiration for the bossa nova sound? Who are some of your favorite bossa nova artists from the past that kind of inspire you?
Well, I love Joao Gilberto, who
Mm,
really is the grandfather of it. He and Carlos Jobim
yeah,
are the two I love the most. But I love Jovan. I love Babel. Um, I love early Cannonball Adderley. He did some really cool bossa nova stuff.
yeah.
Uh, I love Getz.
Stan Getz.
Yeah, Stan Getz is beautiful.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah,
so I love the traditional of bossa nova
yeah,
because then I get to add on top what I think will work with the traditional,
yeah. Put your
and so,
twist on it,
so
huh?
I get to put my twist on it,
Yeah,
but without losing the essence of it. And just recently, I sent music to some guys in Brazil, and they said, "Yeah, this is bossa nova," and that's when you know you're doing it when you can send it to the motherland of it,
yeah.
and they connect with it and say, "Yeah, you're doing bossa nova. You're doing real bossa
Wow, that's up. And now the second project, you were doing you had DOA in the studio
nova." Yeah.
not too long ago, and you guys are, getting some of that stuff done. Talk a little bit about the collaboration with him and getting this project taken care of.
So what's interesting is that with DOA, I was really busy, and I had done some demos of stuff that I wanted to do, and I just couldn't get around to getting it done. And one day I called DOA. I said, "Hey D, I have some songs that I want you to hear. These are some ideas, some rough ideas that I have, but I don't trust anybody with my music. But for some reason, I'm gonna trust you. I think that you no, and I meant I thought that because he's a student of music.
Mhm.
D doesn't just produce records; he really studies records and produces them. So I sent him one song, and he sent it back, and it was spot on. I said, "Can I send you another one?" And I sent him another one.
So you
And
sent
so
you sent him drafts, is that correct? Or just
yeah, I sent him the demos, and then he worked
okay,
he worked off the demos.
got it. Okay.
Um, the first time we worked together on my open book album, he sent me a track,
Hmm.
and I wrote the lyric and the melody and added the saxophone. He did everything else.
Okay.
And I wrote a song called "What Do You Want From Me," and that was on my first solo album, Open Book, in 2009. So here it is, 8 years later, and I'm doing the Hell and Son album. And so he ends up doing like 5 or 6 songs on that album. And then and stuff that I did with other people, I let him play on it, and it just was a good record. And then this next album, the Soulful Bossa Nova, I basically worked with him almost exclusively.
Yeah.
And he and Ivan Johnson, who was my band director,
Okay.
Ivan did Soulful Bossa Nova with me, and Once Had Your Lovin'. DOA did all the rest of the stuff with me.
Yeah.
But even on Once Had Your Lovin' and Soulful Bossa Nova, DOA played on it, fixed it. So it was primarily DOA with and then
Yeah.
the new album is just me and DOA.
And that's slated for release when on that
2024 and 24,
early
spring of
part
24.
spring.
Yeah,
Okay.
spring of
So
24.
so I'll be around the corner. I'm gonna be looking out for that one too, man. That's gonna be hot. And then also for your sounds, as far as your gear, like when you do your music, what do you use for your gear? Like, do you have any specific gear that you go to that you like to get your sounds? And
No, just whatever sounds, every now because you have libraries and the keyboard becomes a controller
Yeah, yeah,
for the sound. So it's not like when we first came up where you had to have the DX7, the
yeah,
Juno 106, the
yeah.
Mirage, the emulator. Now you can have a controller and have a computer just have different types of sounds in them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's according to what keyboard a musician is working off of. When I did this song, I'm So Happy. I mean, Life is Like a Symphony. Billy Beck from the Ohio Players is playing piano, and it's a beautiful piano. He's not playing it's a grand piano. He's not playing a grand piano sound. He's playing the
Right,
grand
an
piano.
actual piano.
Yeah. So we really try to stay true
Authentic.
to the instrument itself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And man, you have a lot coming out, man. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm excited for you as well. And I know the project is going to do very, very well. And then also the Club Nouveau project. You said you guys are working on that. And that's going to be around the same time as the
Yeah, the Club Nouveau project will come out. Will come out in November, December of this year, but we won't start pushing it into January. We'll start laying it out, so you'll start seeing. Like today, I'm looking at photos for the cover itself,
Okay.
and then for the single cover and what's going to be our image and stuff like that, and then we'll start building out from there.
Cool. Do you think you might ever tour on your own project or perform any of your own solo stuff at any time?
Well, I've done dates. I haven't
Okay.
done tours, but like I played at Yoshi's. I played
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
in Sacramento. So I'm going to play September 30th. I'm special guest with Sean Rayford here in Sacramento at an event, and I'll do 4 or 5 songs.
Okay.
Um, and then I will 24. I'll do some solo dates. I might do anywhere from 6 to 10 dates throughout the year 24.
Okay. When doing Bossa Nova, do you think what kind of pieces in that type of band, like a 5, 6 piece band?
Yeah, that's a 5, 6 piece. It's
6 piece. Okay.
It's a guitar, bass, keys, drum, percussion, and sax.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that's gonna sound good. Now I gotta ask you this, Jay, man, before we depart. You've done so much and you continue to do so much. Is there anything that you have not done that you still would like to do or have thought about doing in the near future?
I'm gonna do a clothing line.
Really?
Yeah, I'm working. I'm working on a clothing line.
Is it J King Clothing or what's
Yeah, J King. Yeah,
okay, okay. You got like a logo and all that already picked out?
I'm working on it. I think it's gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna be J King or J Anthony because that's
Okay,
my middle name.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. See, the ideas just don't stop coming, man. That's hot, man. Well, yeah, I'm always tuned into you, so I'm gonna definitely be staying up to date on your projects and clothing line when it starts to happen, and then also, be following up with you as far as when the new album comes out, so I can go ahead and grab it as well. And I thank you very much for sharing your time, your stories with us. And before we depart, if you don't mind, letting my viewers know where they can find you, Instagram, Facebook, your music, where you can find your catalog and so
Okay.
forth.
So you can find me on Instagram at the official J King, JAYKING. You can find me on uh, Facebook at JAYKING, the number 3, facebook.com/JAYKING, the number 3. You can find us on uh, the Club Nouveau on Twitter or X, whatever the guy's calling it now. You can find us on you can find us on clubnouveau.me, Club Nouveau, NOUVEAU.me, or JAYKING.me. Those are the websites.
Thank you so much once again, Jay, for your time. I appreciate it so much. And once again, if you can just let everybody know what you're going to do for that next Soul Bossa Nova project.
Well, that album is going to be, it's going to be called, so I was going to call it Soulful Bossa Nova too, but I
Okay,
think I'm gonna call it Nouveau Bossa Nova.
Nouveau Bossa Nova.
And
Okay,
and
okay. So
it's going to
that
be
down.
what I learned is this. My music is not R&B. They won't R&B platforms won't play it. It's not jazz. So
Mm,
people say that it's smooth jazz, but smooth jazz don't want vocals, they want instrumentals. So the album will be half vocal, half instrumental. So it'll be a vocal version of a song and then an instrumental version of it. That way I can get a chance to be heard on smooth jazz because that seems to be the radio for me.
yeah.
And but beautiful music is music that you're gonna love to hear.
Okay, Nouveau Bossa Nova. So Club Nouveau, end of the year, Nouveau Bossa Nova come in the springtime. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, please keep your eyes and ears open for these new projects coming real soon from our brother Jay King. We appreciate you to the fullest. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.